What if I told you some of the most chilling figures in history didn't hide in the shadows? They lived normal lives. They smiled. They blended in. But behind closed doors, they created a darkness no one could imagine. Today, we're looking at 10 individuals whose actions changed the world forever. These are stories that still haunt us today. And trust me, number 1 is a case that defies all logic. Let's begin. Number 10, H. Holmes. Before we understood the dark side of the human mind, there was H. Holmes. Charming and intelligent, Holmes built a massive complex in Chicago during the 1893 World's Fair. From the outside, it looked like a hotel. But inside, it was a designed maze. Secret hallways, hidden rooms, areas where sound simply disappeared. Holmes used this structure to ensure that those who entered never found their way out. He was a master of deception, luring people in with false promises before they vanished within his walls. When he was finally caught, he admitted to dozens of cases, but the true scale of his actions remains a mystery. He was America's first glimpse into a truly calculated mind. Number 9, Jim Jones. Jim Jones didn't look like a threat. He looked like a leader. He spoke of hope and equality, building a massive following known as the People's Temple. But as his influence grew, so did his obsession with control. He moved his followers to a remote settlement in Guyana, completely isolated from the world. In 1978, the situation reached a tragic breaking point. Following an outside investigation, Jones led his followers into a final, unthinkable act that resulted in the loss of over 900 lives. It remains one of the most devastating events in history, not because of force, but because of the power one person held over the minds of so many. Number 8, John Wayne Gacy. To his neighbors, he was a pillar of the community. He even performed at events as a character named Pogo. But John Wayne Gacy lived a complete double life. By day, he was a businessman. By night, he was a predator. He targeted young individuals, bringing them to his home under the guise of work or help. The true horror was discovered years later, hidden beneath the very floorboards of his house. Investigators found that dozens had vanished right there in the middle of a quiet suburb. Gacy proved that sometimes, the most disturbing secrets are kept in plain sight, just inches below where life seems normal. Number 7, Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy's greatest weapon wasn't strength. It was his mask of normalcy. Well-dressed and educated, he didn't fit the image of a criminal. He would often pretend to be in need of help to disarm his victims, leading them into a false sense of security. Once they were alone, the mask would slip. He was responsible for the disappearance of at least 30 women across several states. What makes Bundy so terrifying for historians is how easily he moved through society. He wasn't a monster in the woods. He was the person sitting next to you in the library. Number 6, Jeffrey Dahmer. Finally, the case that remains the most difficult to comprehend. Jeffrey Dahmer was quiet, almost invisible, but inside his Milwaukee apartment, he lived a life of dark obsession. He lured people back with promises of companionship, but once the door closed, there was no escape. Dahmer's crimes went far beyond just taking a life. They were about a disturbing need for total control. When authorities finally entered his home in 1991, they found evidence of a darkness that shocked the entire world. It wasn't just the number of victims. It was the nature of his obsession that left a permanent mark on history. A reminder that sometimes, the quietest people carry the heaviest shadows. Number 5, Aileen Wuornos. Her story began with hardship and isolation. Aileen Wuornos lived a life filled with struggle long before her name made headlines. She spent years surviving on the edges of society, facing rejection and instability at every turn. But as time went on, her actions took a darker path. Targeting individuals along highways, she claimed her actions were driven by fear and survival. However, investigators uncovered a pattern that told a different story. Her case sparked intense debate. Was she a victim of circumstance, or something far more dangerous? Even today, her story remains one of the most complex and controversial cases in criminal history. Number 4, Richard Ramirez. Fear swept across California during the mid-1980s, and at the center of it was Richard Ramirez. Known as the Night Stalker, Ramirez didn't follow a predictable pattern. He entered homes under the cover of darkness, leaving entire communities in panic. What made him especially terrifying was his randomness. There was no clear target, no warning, no way to feel safe. People began locking doors, windows, living in constant fear of the unknown. When he was finally identified and captured, it wasn't just relief people felt. It was shock at how one individual could create such widespread terror without ever being noticed. Number 3, Charles Manson. Not all influence comes from power or position, sometimes it comes from manipulation. Charles Manson never directly carried out violent acts himself, but his influence led others down a dark path. He built a following known as the Manson family, convincing them of bizarre ideas and apocalyptic visions. His ability to control and reshape the thinking of his followers remains one of the most disturbing examples of psychological influence. The events connected to his group in 1969 shocked the world, not just for what happened, but for how easily people could be convinced to abandon their sense of right and wrong. Number 2, Albert Fish. Some stories are so disturbing they're difficult to even understand. Albert Fish was known for his deeply troubling behavior and disturbing confessions. Living a seemingly quiet life, he hid a reality that no one around him could have imagined. His case became infamous not just for his actions, but for the psychological depth of his mind. Letters he sent to victims' families revealed a level of detail that shocked investigators and the public alike. Even decades later, his name is still associated with one of the most unsettling cases ever recorded. Number 1, Zodiac Killer. Some figures remain mysteries forever, and the Zodiac Killer is one of them. Operating in Northern California during the late 1960s and early 1970s, this unknown individual taunted authorities with cryptic letters and coded messages sent to newspapers. Despite countless investigations, theories, and suspects, the true identity was never confirmed. What makes this case so haunting isn't just the crimes. It's the unanswered questions. Who was he? How did he evade capture? And could he have lived a completely normal life afterward? The mystery continues to this day, keeping the story alive in a way few cases ever are. 10 names. 10 stories that reveal a chilling truth. Darkness doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hides behind charm, sometimes behind influence, and sometimes behind complete silence. Each of these individuals left a mark on history, not just because of what they did, but because of what they revealed about human nature. The ability to deceive, the power to control, and the terrifying reality that danger doesn't always look the way we expect. So now the question is, after hearing all 10, which case stayed with you the most? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories that make you question everything you think you know, subscribe to Fear After Midnight, because sometimes the scariest stories are the real ones.